Oh, na, 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 na. Good vibration, yeah. That's the positive vibes that we creating, yeah. Sounds that make you feel right, we keep it blazing, yeah. Forever shining this light, we keep it blazing, yeah. Boy, forever shining this light. Hey, like a lot of all the live like we.
Ready, Keely?
Yeah, just tell me when to start. I'm sorry for I was having a little trouble, but I'm good now. You're hearing me, you're seeing me? Well,
Yeah,
sharing
yeah.
screen. Okay, good.
I'm just waiting, I believe, for a few more of the speakers to log in. All right, Keely, I think you can go ahead and begin now. I'm gonna stop the share and let you go ahead. All right, all you, Keely.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Reality Forum. I am Akilia Richards, your host for today. Yes, we'll be talking of a law student, not the fantasy, not the dream world, but the real world. So today, we will be asking the hard questions and we'll be receiving the not so soft answers from our robust panel of attorneys and Norma Manning law students. So welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to those who are watching on YouTube. Thank you for joining. And we'll get straight into it. We have on our panel today as attorneys Sean Christopher Castle, Christopher Harper, and as law students, we have Ronnie Simpson. Sorry. Yes, we have Ronnie Simpson, Jamaic Charles, Iqbal Cheveria, and many more. Each person will be introducing themselves today. And so we'll start with Mr. Christopher Harper.
Hi, hold on. Are we? Let me turn on this video. See me? Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks. Am I being heard? Okay. All right. Cool. So thanks again for the invite. Thanks for the opportunity to be a part of this forum and discussion. So a quick introduction. My name is Christopher Harper. I'm an attorney currently at the bar. This will be my third year practicing law. I would have recently completed a Master of Laws in Human Rights Law at the Queen Mary University of London, facilitated through Achieving Scholarship. I currently tutor legal methods, research, and writing at the Faculty of Law. So I think some of my students might actually be here today. And I guess I'm also recently appointed a Jamaica House Fellow at the Office of the Prime Minister. So that's a quick introduction of myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. We also have attorney at law Peta-Gay Facey. You may now introduce yourself. Welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Peta-Gay Facey, and first of all, I really want to thank the Mona Law Society for extending this invitation and for actually hosting this forum. I think it's a great initiative because it's so important that we bridge the gap, that's within the legal fraternity, and also to help students to basically transition to law school and then transition into practice. So I left the faculty in 2016. And then I left Norman Manning in 2018, so just a little shy of 2 years at the bar. So when I came straight out of law school, I was in private practice at a commercial firm, but now I'm currently at the Attorney General's Chambers in the International Affairs Division, while at Norman Manley, and also, currently, I think I've stopped recently. I tutored legal methods, research and writing, and criminal law. So, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Ms. Peta-Gay Facey. Sean Christopher Castle will be joining us soon, but to move right into the Norma Manley Law students, I'm going to ask Mr. Nathaniel Amore, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, to just introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Nathaniel Amore. Currently, I sit as the president of the Norma Manley Law School Students Association. Just some words about myself. What I would deem myself as is someone that really strives to be multifaceted. It's very important to have various skills that could enhance your practice as well as enhance other aspects of your life, because really and truly, this law thing doesn't necessarily restrict you just to what you think is traditional. There's many more other opportunities that are there. And I really hope that the students realize that, utilize the talents that you have, utilize the skills you have. Law is indeed a passion of mine. And I really do hope that this is a very informative panel discussion and everybody gets to learn something from it.
Thank you, Mr. Amore. Moving on to Ms. Samantha Grant.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samantha Grant, and just a bit about me. I am currently a second-year student at the Norma Manley Law School. I sit as the student associate for LexisNexis, I also tutor legal methods and research writing at the faculty, my second year doing that. And I have a lot of other things going on, but I guess we can talk about that more later. Um, but I just hope that this forum, I was very happy to see it, and I hope that this forum will be as fruitful as it can be, and that you would learn and ask the hard questions, because there's nothing that you want to know that we pretty much can't answer as a panel. So thank you for inviting me, and I hope that you all aren't shy and that you aren't afraid to ask any question that you need to ask about the transition to law school. And obviously the attorneys would have more information about the transition beyond there.
Thank you, Miss Grant. Moving to Miss Ronnie Simpson.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ronnie Simpson. I'm currently a second year student at the Norman Manley Law School. I just want to firstly thank the members of the Mona Law Society for reaching out to me. I really think this is a really great forum, and I really hope that everyone here really does make use of it, because it's really important, and persons who came before me as well, they did something like this for me, and it really did help and helped me to grow as a person. And I'm just really here to answer any questions that you all have for me. So thank you so much. I look forward to hearing the questions and answering them.
Thank you, Miss Ronise. Moving to Iqbal Chavaria.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Iqbal Chevroya. I am very recent graduate of the Faculty of Law. I'm honored to be here. I don't know exactly why I'm here, because I have so much to learn from those who would have been ahead of me. I saw seeing my criminal law teacher here. Hi, Miss. I got the A. Miss Peta-Gay Facey. So I just look forward to whatever questions I can answer as a full-time working student. So those students who are working and want to gauge it and how I gauge it, and see how best we can come to, an understanding and how best to tackle this. So thank you guys again for the invite. I look forward to the discussion.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Jamike Charles, or immediate past president of the Mona Law Society.
Not sure if
He's not
Jamaica
here?
is yet here.
All right.
He may still be
Okay.
in a class.
All right, we'll be going right into the questions. We have some pre-written questions that I will be asking, and I will also open the floor to persons who would want to ask a question or would want a follow-up based on the responses given. We will start with the attorneys and then move on to any NMLS student who would like to answer the question. However, a question can be posed directly to any one of you, so just be ready. We're looking for the answers, definitely. All right, so the first question I have in front of me says, or asks, there's a notion that lawyers are arrogant and know it all. How do you manage to stay humble, classy, and confident? Mr. Harper.
It's like, please don't start with me. But all right, so in respect to that issue, I think it's how you also interact with the people that you engage daily, because it's how you change perceptions. Because trust me, people will think that because that's what they generally think of attorneys. But even across clients, and as somebody who would have worked in a civil society type of space where where you worked across different communities, worked around a number of like issues surrounding disadvantaged and marginalized people, how you treat them as individuals, how you relay information to them, how you communicate, like a lot of what is complicated and a lot of what is complex, because this whole idea of us being arrogant and lacking humility is this idea that we have a level of knowledge that the average person isn't able to access, so therefore we should act like, we know it. But I find that that whole idea surrounding how is humility perceived is where is through our interactions with the general public, because that's where we get a chance to rewrite perceptions and give them different outlooks. And I think there's also a change given the generational shift, between us as younger attorneys compared to some of the more senior, more older attorneys. And I think that's where a lot of that shift in perspective is coming from when people engage younger attorneys who are also engaged in different spaces.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harper. Miss Peta-Gay Facey.
Right, hi again, everybody. I think Christopher, answered that pretty well. But I'd first want to say that most times attorneys who present themselves in a particular way or who tend to be arrogant are just probably generally arrogant. So it's not necessarily the profession that has made them arrogant. So it's really just their character, their nature. And so in light of that, I think it's just important that persons are deliberate about ensuring that you don't allow this profession or allow what you think persons to think of you to, even cloud how you present yourself to persons. So first of all, if you don't consider yourself to be an arrogant person, if you consider yourself to be humble, then that ought to be translated in how you treat persons, how you treat clients. And I think it's very important that we appreciate that as attorneys, we really just represent our clients well. That's what we really do. So in light of that, there's no need for us to be arrogant. There's no need for us to kind of have an awe about us. So yeah, and in terms of, I guess, keeping yourself classy, um, I think it's so important when you go out into the field or when you go to present yourself that you kind of have an idea of how you want to be presented. So I think it's important that persons, like you say, appreciate what are the things, what are the ways, or how do I want to communicate myself to other people. And in light of that, no, that will sort of translate into, all right, how do I project myself? How do I carry myself in terms of how I dress? How do I speak to persons? How do I think of my own self? And, I think when you kind of get those things covered, then it should be easy. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Miss Facey. Any NMLS student would like to tackle that question as upcoming attorneys, because even at faculty, sometimes we're told that we kind of have this elitist vibe. And so is it that we're walking into an arrogant career, or it's just sometimes our personality and we'd like to blame it on the career?
Well, I think as Miss Facey would have said, that it's normally when a person or an attorney is described as arrogant, it's because that's their personality rather than that of the profession. And I think that you trying to, or you being deemed that way comes from the way you present yourself. And even though people have this idea or may have this generalized idea about the profession, then it's up to you to just create or present yourself in a way that's different from that. People are open to it. And when people meet you, your first impression will last. So if you are presented as somebody who carries themselves well and you can be confident without being arrogant, then people will receive that properly and it will stick with them. So even if they have this generalized idea about the profession, they know you as a person and know that, okay, she's probably or he's probably an exception to the rule of what I think about the profession. And sometimes we just have to accept that it's not our job to go out and say to try to change the whole world's perception of the entire profession. But what you can do is to present yourself so that you aren't portrayed that way. And if we all do that in our own way, then one day that will not be the go-to word or a word that is used to describe the profession. So it comes down to you, how you present yourselves. And it really and truly starts right now, because a part of the profession is networking with other attorneys, and that's something that I learned really early. And that comes, how people know you comes from also how your peers and your colleagues know you. So your image, how you want to present yourself, how you want to be known, how you want to be viewed, starts right now. And you just continue building that. And it's not a facade or anything, it's portraying who you are. And once you know that you are a good person, once you know that you are confident, once you know that you aren't arrogant, and your colleagues know this, then it's going to be hard for other attorneys or potential clients in the future to view you that way. So that's my 2 cents to add in. Start from now.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Mr. Amor, I saw that you were unmuting your mic.
Okay, so it really starts with unprejudiced objectivity. It really starts with you being able to assess yourself and match your actions with your aspirations. So if you decide that you're going to be arrogant because you're all out in a bag of Doritos because you have an LEC and you have an LLB, what you would cause now, you would sacrifice a lot. You would sacrifice other colleagues. Sorry for the noise in the background. You sacrifice having a good relationship in the legal fraternity. You sacrifice having a lot of the clients that you have because really and truly, you're getting paid to solve persons' problems, and so unfortunately that causes a God complex, because I'm solving all of these persons' problems and I know everybody's business. It causes an unfortunate God complex, and because of that, now it's really up to us now to look internally and keep ourselves humble, because really and truly, pieces of paper are the only thing that separate us from any other individual, and we're all human beings and the same. So I think that we just need to internally look within ourselves and see, okay, what type of person do I want to be? What type of person do I want my children to see me as? What type of person do I want young attorneys to see me as and want to grow into? So that would be what I have to say on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Amor. Before moving next question, I just want to take the time to attorney at law Sean Christopher Castle. And as Ms. Grant mentioned about networking, I met Sean last year at our legal education day. And so I just want to welcome Mr. Sean and ask him to introduce himself.
Oh boy, hi guys. I wasn't fully set up yet. I was just joining the call. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I was just joining the call, so I'm still setting up my
I'm sorry.
they caught me off guard, but that's how it goes. Hi everyone. This consists of persons of all year groups of the faculty. All right, great.
Yes.
So all right, I see some of my colleagues here. Chris, big up, Wagwan.
Yeah.
Hi Sam. Akila, what's up? Just got big enough everybody who I know.
I'm good, Sean.
By the time I call it, everybody I know Release too. And of course, Shannon. If I start calling everybody, we'll be here for a longer time, right? But my name is Sean Christopher Castle. Of course, I've been an attorney at law for 3 years now. 3 years. December would make it 3 years, right, Chris? Yeah, 3 years. While at the Faculty of Law, I was CEAC for 2 consecutive years in my second and third year. I was also, or I am, a chancellor, right? I live on the Chancellor Hall. I was also CAC for Chancellor Hall. I was Deputy Guild CAC. I was a lot of other things. Member of UMA, member of a bunch of other things that I don't remember. Things that I don't even put on my resume right now. Because when you start, when you're out of practice now, you start to leave out some of those things if they don't match. But Shannon, please assist me. What else should I say to the young people right now? Because like I said, you caught me off guard.
Oh, well, they want to know how long you've been in practice, and what you do right now in terms of practice.
All right, so I practice mainly civil law. The main areas which interest me are conveyancing, company law, corporate law. I always just say company / corporate, intellectual property, probate, which includes estate planning. Overall, what else? I do a bit of construction, which connects back to conveyancing, entertainment law. But later on, you'll realize that all these things kind of intertwine. People just kind of try and break them out into subsets. But I mean, once you do contract law, you kind of do a lot of only the commercial law. So I do a lot of contract law. So I wouldn't separate contract from commercial. Yeah, everything that connects to that, which would include like personal injury practice. So I just sometimes just tell people I'm a civil practitioner, straight up. It may include at times a little bit of
All right, thank you, Sean.
white collar
Ooh.
crime, but that's about
Okay,
it.
you weren't finished. You can continue.
Oh, right. Yeah.
All
I think
right,
that's
I'll give you some time to
what time was
set
up.
up. I'm sorry for calling on you impromptu.
Yeah, give me a few. Let me just let me
Yeah,
just
man, I'll
have
time so you can set up
on.
the
I just
camera
realized.
and just give it to us in the Sean.
Can you guys see me? My video is on now.
No, I'm not seeing you.
That's why I said, give me a second, man. Let me fully set up my thing so I can
All right, no problem. We'll
see that.
move on to another
All
question and
right.
then get back to you, Sean.
Great.
Thank you for
Great.
joining us. All right, so Mr. Iqbal Cheveria, are you on the call? Are you still listening? This question is for you, Mr. Iqbal.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if I should be nervous since it
All
was.
right, great. No, man, you mentioned working, and so I
Okay,
would want
okay,
to pose this question to you first.
okay.
What was your first internship like? How did you go about getting it? Was it paid? And how do you manage it with school?
So my first
Okay.
internship, I wouldn't call it an internship. It was more of unpaid labor. With small advice along the way. I think at faculty, you have to remember that majority of your tutors and your lecturers are all practicing attorney, majority, right? And even those who are not practicing attorney, they are lawyers, or they would have attained a level of legal education to a point where they are recognized in the fraternity. So it's always good to leave an impression in your classes. I gained my first internship
All right. Is anyone hearing Iqbal? Or is on just on my end?
No, no, I'm not hearing him
No,
either.
not hearing either.
No.
Seems like an internet issue probably.
All right. These are just the casualties of online forums. Okay. Any
But if you want
other
me
law
to, I
student
could
would
chip
like to tackle the
in.
question in the meantime?
If you
Pardon
want
me?
me, I could chip in as well on that question.
Sure.
So I currently intern. Well, at the law school, you have to do 10 weeks, which they lowered to 8 weeks this year, in service, which is internship. Um, so this year, I actually did my first internship when I finished the faculty and I was about to start law school. And I did it because I wanted to get some practical experience, like dip my foot in the water before I go to law school to kind of have an idea of what to expect. And it was very fruitful. Um, so I would encourage you to not wait and to just try, because I think I applied in my second year and they told me I was too young. And I just tried again in my third year after I finished faculty and I got through. Um, this summer again, I did the internship as the requirement, and I decided to continue during school just so that, well, for many different reasons. One, because I really want to continue working to get that practical experience, because I didn't think that the time was enough to learn all that I could learn, and I just wanted to continue learning more. And I wanted to put to work what I was learning in school, because as much as Norman Manley is more practical than faculty, it still felt more academic than the real thing. So I would say that right now it is hard to balance because I'm still finding my bearings. School not too long started, but if you reach this stage and if you are working and going to school right now, I think the best advice is to plan. really what I realize now is that because I'm forced to to manage myself more because I have more on my plate, I am forced to plan better and actually prepare more for classes than I was last year. So now I'm actually more prepared than I was last year for my different classes because I feel like I don't have enough time. So if you're doing that now, what I would say is if you're working part-time, full-time, to just plan your week, do your work, and it can be done. It has been done before me, and you have full working people that had jobs that came to the faculty that went to Norman Manley that did what they had to do. They got out their attorneys, right, and they had bigger jobs than what I had, actual real jobs. I'm doing an internship, so it can be done. Don't be daunted. And again, whatever my first thing to say is to always ask questions. If you know somebody, ask them for advice. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that you can get learn is that never be afraid to ask questions from people before you. I benefited from that greatly. Even Sean, I bother him a lot for advice, and it helps a lot. So whenever you feel stuck, just reach out to anybody that you know, and they will help you as well.
Thank you so much, Miss Grant. So you hear it, guys. Never be afraid to ask questions, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Mr. Iqbal, you're back on the call.
So very sorry, I have no idea what happened. But I think the last bit that Samantha touched on as it relates to planning, I think that's very important. At faculty, my thing was more of an internship, but now I'm fully employed, not necessarily as a legal intern, because we also have to remember that not everybody wants to become a practicing attorney. Not saying that I don't, but it's also good to have uh expose yourself to different areas. It can be completely outside the law. Now I'm employed fully and I'm teaching Cape Communication Studies. Like it's completely unrelated. I've seen where that had helped me, I don't know, owning my writing ability. So let's not be shy. So let's just say you would have applied for those legal internships, right? You would not have gotten any of those persons, any of those internships. Um, don't shy away from working at even a call center, guys. You practice your speaking that can assist you in becoming something else. So let's not shy away from doing these non-traditional jobs because we're saying, okay, it's not a legal internship, so I'm just gonna sit down and get rusty. So go out there, prepare, plan, and just put your best self out there. You never know what can come up.
Thank you, Mr. Iqbal. You've already put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. Don't shy away from the non-legal jobs because the reality is it's a lot of money to pay. And if you have the time and you can utilize skills in that time, and you can get better at about anything. So don't be shy. All right, we're going to move on to the next question, and it reads: with so many fields to venture into, how do you manage if you have more than one interest? And I'm going to start with Miss Peta-Gay Facey.
You guys hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Right. Okay. Can you ask the question once more?
With so many fields to venture into, how do you manage if you have more than one interest?
Well, I mean, my advice would be to basically you just have to get experience. You know what I mean? Because I've realized that practice is so different from what you do at law school, what you do at the faculty. So even if you did company law at the faculty, actually doing it in practice is so different. And so my advice to everyone is basically to just get your foot in there. So for me, when I started practicing, I did commercial and I liked it, but I know that when I was at faculty, I've always wanted to do international law. And so basically, and I still do like commercial law very much, but I decided I'm gonna try. And now that I'm actually in the field in terms of doing international law, it's very different from even when I was at faculty when I used to do mooting. Still similar, but it's still different. And so I guess that's just would be my advice to just try and seek out opportunities And now when you're just starting, it's the best time to basically see what you like. Because for example, like when you are in practice for maybe 6 years or so on, that's when you need to try and see how you can become a master of a particular area. So the first probably 1 to 4 years, you're trying to see what areas of law you like and just being open to it, because it's very important when you've kind of found that particular area that you become a master in it, because that's what you're going to be known for. That's where you're going to be basically establishing a legacy.
Miss Facey. Mr. Chris Castle, do you have anything to add, that you had so many feathers in your hat as it relates to what you do, what you practice currently? So with so many fields to venture into, how do you manage if you have more than one interest?
Like I said before, most of the areas are interconnected. So, I mean, from the moment you do, especially if you have repeat clients, the moment you do one thing for them, they'll ask you, oh, so you can do this for me as well. And you're like, yeah, sure, because it kind of segues into see the knowledge that you have, you can use on the other side. Law is not necessarily, unless you have really niche areas, law is not necessarily something where you, all right, so for instance, you know, like, oh, you have doctors and everybody's a GP once they get called, if anybody doctor watching me or anything like that. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. Everybody's a GP once they pass that entire thing. And then they go on to specialize. It's the same thing with us. You have a general basic knowledge of all areas of law, which is what, when you go to the faculty of, when you go to Normal Manley, you'll hear lecturers and tutors referring to it as bread and butter areas, because they're the foundation, they're the most basic areas. You get me? So some things I literally say I don't do, but there are some areas that I know that if it's not too complicated, I can do it. And then never forget, you won't know entirely what you like until you actually get out there and become exposed. You have some persons who, yeah, they're sure what they want to do, and then you have other person that they still want to test the waters. So I will do something maybe once, like do a matter once. If you started out like me in a medium-sized firm, where you kind of have to be splitting the work at times, you get a taste of different areas. But I know for one specifically that I wasn't going to do criminal practice. So, yeah. But everything over civil for the most part is me. But once you get like I don't know, a client that's like a developer, they will have a family member. They'll be looking for a piece of land, and then when they find it, they learn that the person who owned it was dead 5 years ago. So now they're asking you to handle the probate of the estate. You get what I'm saying? So that's a connected area, and why would you leave that alone? So find out what you like from now, find out the basics of what you like, and go there. So at least I knew, and I learned very early that criminal law wasn't my thing. Not saying I couldn't do it. It just didn't come as naturally to me as civil practice, because I naturally love business. I naturally love marketing. So the areas that connect to that, I just stuck in that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Sean. I'm going to segue a little bit to the Norman Manley Law students, and I'm going to start with Miss Ronit Simpson. What is the transition like from faculty to Norman Manley Law School?
I know you guys saw me laughing a while ago because the transition is pretty rough. I know Samantha can agree with me, and Nathaniel, and possibly Iqbal and Jamaica can possibly speak to it a bit too. It is very rough. It's a big jump from faculty to Normal Manley because they expect so much more from you. And it's like you have to try to bridge the gap. And it's more about procedures and it's more practical. And so they really expect you to come over there knowing the substantive law. And it's that you're going to use to help to assist you in whatever it is that you're learning over by Norman Manley. It can be fun. It's more practical. So persons who may love doing things more practical will really appreciate it, especially courses like advocacy, where you'll have the opportunity to do like examinations in chief, cross-examination. It's really fun. It can be really fun, but it can be really stressful because the information is a lot. It's very fast paced. It moves a lot faster than faculty does. And so a lot more is required and expected of you. So one way in which I helped to cope with something like that, or to deal with Norman Manley, was to be more organized and to plan ahead. So planning whatever it is that I have to do for the week, it helps you to be prepared for your tutorials. And that's something that really helps at the end of the day, because when you'll find that in the end, when you have exams and you've been preparing for tutorials, in the end, it's not so hard for exams, because you would have already been preparing throughout the year. You've understood the knowledge or the information that they've imparted to you. So you're not learning, but you're more memorizing, and you have to do a lot of application of the knowledge. So my study group really helped me. So we divided the work and, stuff like that, as well as participating in class, letting the teacher know that you don't understand, or just participating so that they can tell you if you're on the right track. So it's pretty similar to some of the things that you would have done at faculty. And it's, even though it sounds really rough, at the end of the day, it can be done. There are persons before me that have done it, and you're going to do it as well. So as though it sounds as the big bad wolf, it's not the big bad wolf, and it's not the end of the world. So just put your best foot forward and just look forward to it. It can be a very fun process, even though it's scary. And just look forward to it.
All right, thank you so much, Renice. Any other what's the transition you have to do? What changes you had to make to ensure that you're keeping up with law school and you're still not using the same mentality that you had over faculty? Mr. Moore.
Hello again. So what I found is really and truly one of the most important things is time management. And it's funny that before the previous topic that you guys were talking about before was what happens when you have multiple interests. So that really ties into this. If you're someone who has different aspirations and you have different plans with your life, let's say you're working, let's say you have other interests. For me, I do music production, I do some marketing on the side, I have a business, a grocery delivery, So there's a whole heap of different things there, but you have to manage your school. So what you really have to do is attack the day before the day starts. So you have to have your scheduling in order. So you spend your night before trying to get everything organized, and then you wake up early in the morning and get yourself through that day. Because trust me, at Norman Manley, you have an assignment due in, let's say, 2 weeks. That's the quickest 2 weeks of your life. It's like as soon as you look up that 2 weeks is done, it's time to submit. Exams just come around the corner. You have, if in second year, you have mock trials, you have the legal aid clinic, you have so much going on. So to give yourself a fighting chance, you have to kind of give yourself a head start. So that is what my advice would be.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. And we love to see law students being creatives. At this time, I just want to pause to welcome Mr. Jamaic Charles, or immediate past president of the Mona Law Society. Welcome, Jamaic, and I'm going to ask you to do a short introduction of yourself. Mr. Jamaic. Hi.
So everybody can hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly.
All right. Well, as Akeelia said, my name is Jamaic Charles. I'm the immediate past president of the Mona Law Society. I'm currently in my first year at the Norman Manley Law School. It feels like my third year already, but I'm working through it. At the moment, I'd say that definitely the tales of its arduousness were not exaggerated. Tales which I received from people like Samantha Grant, who I'm sure you've heard from already, and Renice, who I just heard spoke as I joined the call. It is an adjustment, and you have to remember why you chose to pursue this career path, what it is about the law that appeals to you, what it is about this career that makes you want to have a degree, the qualifications necessary to practice in Jamaica. And or whichever territory you're from. That's, I think, when it comes to adjusting as a first year student. I mean, I'm not sure. I won't claim to be the master because I'm not convinced that I've adjusted yet. But it it really forces you to get to the core of who you are, as far as I can tell. It forces you to either get your life in order or to just let it go for now, because time management and self-organization and discipline, these things are the qualities that you don't just need them now, you've always needed them. But if you didn't make use of them before, then it's do or die time now. I think the classes for me have been very interesting, very engaging. They appeal to the things that I like, and I don't mean the areas of law. I mean, for me, the appealing law for me is the the grounds and ability to argue fine distinctions and to reason on technicalities. These types of things excite me. They interest me. Um, I don't know why I couldn't say. I feel they make me feel smart. I think that's the reason I'll point to. That's one of the reasons I'm in this. And when the courses remind me of that, it's a good feeling. And so don't worry, these feelings will come. You'll be reminded why you're here, what you're doing. It's just to ensure that you don't let the negative feelings overwhelm the positive, because there are positive feelings. Normally, isn't all bad. Your lecturers are interesting characters, and your tutors as well. Um, and so you'll find something to smile about. I promise. I think
Thank you
I should stop.
so much. Thank you so much, Jamaic. All right, we'll come back to you as it relates to questions. Right now, we're going to go back to Mr. Harper, and this is a bit of a sensitive yet still interesting question as law students. Also, Mr. Harper, you were a bit low before, so I don't know if you could fix something so that you can be a little more audible. But the question is, what are the salaries for new attorneys? How long does it take to climb up the financial ladder?
All right. So, I mean, I've possibly tweeted about this before. So, in relation to the salaries, I remember when I was in final year, I believe, at Norman Manley, they would have shared a study as to what the range can be, and that can be anywhere between $40,000 per month upwards to 250. So here's the catch with it. Based on where you end up, if you end up in a medium to, a large size firm, you can expect a more competitive salary as a starting attorney compared to a much smaller firm. But you'll find that some persons will tend to go to government as their starting point, because that's where you are at least guaranteed a much higher sum right from the get-go. I would say personally, for me, I took an alternative route. So I would have also seen benefits in doing consultancies, because one thing that we realize out there is that the legal mind is something that a lot of people crave or need, especially when they're dealing with different things. And I think for me, I was able to leverage myself as a young professional who knew certain things and could market that skill set and bid for a few consultancies. And consultancies actually pay a lot more than you'd expect from like a salaried firm or anything like that. So I also think it goes back to how do we market ourselves as individuals? How do we try to leverage our skills that we have or that we bring to the table? But that's what we can expect. It's always awkward because you're thinking, I spent all this money to graduate, to become a lawyer. You're not necessarily seeing return on investment, because you spend all these millions of dollars. Some of us have student loans to pay back, so you're not going to wait, because as you're out of that door, they expect that you'll be paying back that money within the next year. So people are always trying to find the next best opportunities to deal with the bills, get it out there from the get-go. But there are opportunities to make money, and I mean, people say it all the time, try to have multiple streams of income. And it might seem a bit daunting for a lot of students right now because you're thinking, man, I really know nothing. But the reality of it is that there are certain things that you can actually do that can bring in some type of income. So even right now, a tutor, Sam tutors, she's been tutoring for 2 years. I mean, that's some passive income right there that's flowing into whatever it is that you're doing entirely. So it's how can I, and even if I think it was Sam Moore was saying it earlier about all the different businesses and the different things he's engaged in. It's all about how do we truly and in the reality of it leverage our skills to ensure that we're able to capitalize on and reap all those benefits from it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harper. Mr. Castle, anything to add about how you climb up the financial ladder? You need to unmute your mic.
Before I speak about climbing up the financial ladder point, I just want to piggyback on what Chris had said about this study. I personally didn't know about it. Chris, can you share with me, please, if you still have it? I never heard about it, but what I will say, what I've come to know, is that I don't want you to scare them, Chris, because the whole $40,000 as an attorney, I think what the reality is that the places that offer you the $40,000 are often places that allow you to practice on your own and have your own set of clients. So they will pay you just for the work that they give to you. You understand? So you may, I think that $40,000 may go for persons who are sole practitioners. So you may have somebody who has been a sole practitioner all their career. They may be 5, 6, 7 years at the bar, and they just need some assistance with the matters that they have. So when they look at their finances, meaning when they look at their income and expenditure, they may say to themselves, all right, I just need another set of hands. However, they may not be able to pay somebody that's not on their same level in terms of years of experience. So they say to themselves, all right, let me get somebody fresh out of law school who was recently caught. And the proposition that they may make to that person is, I will pay you $40,000 a month just to handle matters or just to assist me with matters, meaning my matters. And then you can use the office space that I have. You can use my resources. You can use my, use my paralegal, use my printers, everything else, use my paper to do your own matters and make your own money. So if you are that kind of person who, you have or you're able to garner clientele, maybe that $40,000 a month thing can work out for you, because if you can come out and command, and I've seen it, persons within my year group, persons before me, persons after me, fresh out of law school, and they just build their client base out and they're making more than their counterparts that have full-time jobs, meaning they're fully employed and they're practicing on their own. So if your counterpart is making, let's say, 250 as a first or second year attorney at law, and you're able to make 200 based off of just the work that you have gotten, and then that other person who you're technically not employed but in their chambers and they're paying an additional 40, you're almost on the same pay scale as the person who is fully employed. So don't be depressed when you just hear, oh, $40,000. I fail to believe, and I may be wrong, I fail to believe anybody is literally taking $40,000 a month and not able to make money for themselves outside of what they're being paid. You understand? Outside of that, it comes with experience. And when I say experience, I don't just mean number of years at the bar, because you can be somewhere and work there forever, meaning private practice, and you in your years of practice, you haven't added anything to the practice. You haven't brought in any new clients. You haven't improved the office, helped to improve the office functions. You see where I'm going with this? How can you then command a higher salary if you haven't benefited the place other than just paper pushing? You get what I'm saying? So what
how it works, or what I recommend, is that if you want an increase, for instance, my contract which I had drafted for myself when I just started working, when my employers initially gave me my contract, I looked at it and I got advice from very senior counsel, even Queen's Counsel, and I got tips from them, and then I had my own requirements that I felt like I needed personally, and so I gave them a counter offer, or I just asked them if I could amend the agreement. And each year I would have gone through a review to see, the amount of matters I would have closed, my level of billing, um, what new clients I would have brought in, and so on. And on that basis, we would agree on an increase in salary every year. So, and let me just say this, and it's one thing I want you guys to take away: you only get what you ask for in this, not only in practice, but in this world. You understand? So, here we go.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Sean. And well, while it may be daunting to some, as Sean has shed some light on it, it's definitely good to negotiate and to basically know what you're worth. Also, Chris had put in the chat that he got his data from Beverly, if he remembers her name well. An NMLS student should know her if she's still teaching. That is
Very nice.
Bernice. So she's
She
still
is.
there.
She's still here. She's still at Norma Manley.
All right. But we
She
keep it
taught
moving.
us
And
last year.
okay, no problem. All right, so I'm going to get a little bit more personal with this question. And it reads, do the circumstances of young attorneys allow for you to start a family? No, any person can answer, whether it be the NMLS students or the attorneys on the call. Anybody who would like to challenge that question, it's out for grabs.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Do the circumstances of young attorneys allow for you to start a family? I don't know if somebody's interested in getting married on the call, or just looking for what's the workload like, what's the work life like, and if they can manage having a family.
I'll take a shot. And I'll just say from what I've observed within my year group. I mean, many of my colleagues, my classmates, meaning the year of 2017, have started their families. I mean, so that simply answers the question. I'd say yes. Well, they say puss and dog not have the same luck, but sometimes when you ask your elders if you should start a family, and they tell you why, well, you tell them why you think you're not ready. Some of them will simply just look at you and say, you'll never be ready. Just start. Put yourself in the place, in the position, if you really feel as if you want a family. And then you work it out from there. You see? I mean, my opinion on law is it's the only profession that really gives you, financial freedom. So I think it's the only profession where the day you get licensed to practice, you can dictate your future. Really and truly. I have classmates and I know of attorneys that only have 2 clients, 3 clients for years, and they are living decent lives. When I say 2 and 3 clients, of course, they're sizable clients, meaning they probably work for a development company. They probably work for a medium-sized company where they do all the legal work for them, you see? And that would give them a salary that would sometimes be way above what their counterparts are getting. So I think yes, you can. You just have to know, you can't just do a broad brush like that and say, oh, being a lawyer doesn't allow me to have a family. I mean, look at the world. Look at your country. You have persons who are making less money than you that have families. You understand? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, yes, you can start a family at any time. It just depends on the quality that you want, the quality of life that you want. If you want to have a family where you can fly every holiday and those kind of things, maybe you want to wait a couple of years, and make some more money.
if you have a partner, that meaning your spouse or a baby mother, baby father, whoever you want to term it, or husband or wife, that is making equal to you or making more than you, and you guys can, when you collaborate, you can have a good family life, They can take care of the kids while, and I'm speaking to the women as well, where you have a husband that can maybe take care of the kids while you're the busy attorney out on the road. He may just have a regular 9 to 5. So my answer is yes. I don't see why it would be difficult, you know.
Thank you so much,
Anybody else wish
Sean.
to add? I don't know.
All right, I wanted to add to the conversation as well.
Sure, go ahead, Miss Facey.
Right, because the figures, the 40 to 150 sound, I don't know. The 40 to 150 sound, but what I can say, I think that probably the range, in my opinion, maybe from figures that I've heard from my colleagues, just starting out is maybe starting at maybe like a 80 and going up to maybe 280 when you're in government. I think Chris said it, that usually when you're in government, you're able to make a little bit more just coming out of law school. But I mean, the distinction though is that when you're in government, you're not really able to negotiate your salary. You usually just go up the increments. So that's one thing to consider as well. But usually when you go into government, the pay is usually better just coming out. And so persons sometimes start off in government in light of that. Also, I mean, Sean said it and Chris said it too, is that because of the nature of our profession, as Chris said, like people want legal advice. It's crazy. Sometimes when you're literally just walking, you're asking people, messaging you, and they're saying, can you assist me with this particular thing? So that's one thing to consider as well. So when you're in government, sometimes there's a little restriction in terms of if you're able to do private practice in addition to working in government, in addition to the work that you do in government. And even for those firms that usually give you that a small amount, like a 80 or so on, they usually allow you to compete. So for example, like in some firms where they'll probably maybe give you a 170, you're not able to do certain things while doing the firm work. So most times those firms that usually giving you like a 70 or so on, you're also able to have your own clients on the side, do your own work on the side. So that's something to consider as well. And even in government, once you get permission, you're also able to do practice on the side. So as Sean said, it's really just how much hours you want to work, really, to determine what's the nature of your salary. And, we're learning more and more about the importance of doing things on the side, of side hustling, of investing, all of those things. So I can't see what are the restrictions in terms of starting a family. As Sean said, I guess it's how you want your family to be oriented in terms of what's the lifestyle for your family or so on. But I can't see why a young professional isn't able to start a family.
Thank you so much for your input, Ms. Facey. And as you said, it's just a matter of flexibility as it relates to the salary conversation as well. So what they're offering is usually in relation to how flexible they're allowing you to be in terms of clients. If anyone else wants to try and give an answer, wants to answer the question as it relates to starting a family, it is still open to other inputs.
Can I jump in?
Sure, Mr. Charles.
No, I'm not in the working environment yet, but my
in the parent environment.
Not at all. But the question, as far as I can see, is really not for us to answer. It's for the people who have that question on their hearts. No one can tell you when you're ready to start a family. It has nothing to do with your job, as far as I'm concerned. I have not as much experience as my counterparts on the panel, but the way I see it and the way I will approach it personally is that you're ready to start a family. You think you're ready to start a family, and even sometimes, as Christopher said, sometimes you'll never be ready. But if you want to do it, you need to do it. It has nothing to do with your job, but everything to do with what your priorities for your life are, what you think you're able to give attention to right now at this stage in your life. If you think that you can start a family, then by all means, I mean, I would not advise it in these COVIDious times, but it's your choice. also, I'd want to point out as well that the legal field, as much as it's a common refrain that we have a glutton of lawyers in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, really, the legal field, based on my research and my colleagues with actual experience can correct me if I'm wrong, is much more diverse than we think it is. I think, especially for me coming into first year at the faculty, I had this vision of joining a firm when I finished normally and working my way up and then retiring eventually, hopefully. But over the years, based on internships, based on my own research, based on talking to people out there in the field, which is a very important thing, I think, for all our students to build a network and find out what you're heading into. You have anything from legislative drafting to in-house counsel to litigation, yes, but it's a wide and diverse field, and it's not black and white. Despite what it's painted to be, you can do a lot. And of course, many of us, more and more of us, an increasing number of us, have interests outside of law. So law can even be the side hustle. I know people who operate like that. So when you figure out what you think is your purpose or where you think your future lies, you can organize how you're going to approach it. And so if you're going to start the business and practice at the same time, then it's up to you to set up how you're going to balance that. And if you want to add on a family on top of that, you'll be working against my advice, but that is up to you and nobody else. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that question.
Thank you so much for your very strong 2 cents, Mr. Charles. And on the point of diversity, ask for advice to persons who are great law students but don't have a great interest in being in the courtroom. And so I'm throwing that out to anyone who would like to answer. Any advice to students who are great law students but don't have a great interest in being in the courtroom? How can they navigate around that? Mr. Harper.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Hi again. And I think I'm the best example of that because I have no interest in litigation, absolutely no interest in appearing before any tribunal of any sort. But in terms of the diversity, I think I kind of wanted to chime in a little bit earlier when we're talking about multiple interests. Because even for, you can have interests, but as I think Sean would have said, and I think Sean said it, but the whole idea of being exposed to it to really know if you like it, because a lot of the students I talk to now, they'll be like, I want to be a criminal lawyer, I want to be a civil practitioner, or what have you, whenever they're discussing it. But then when they realize or they're exposed to it, they realize they hate it. So me right now, I'm a human rights lawyer, but a lot of what I do doesn't necessarily require me to go before any court, but a lot of it is about policy creation and legislative advocacy and all of those types of things. And trust me, there is room for you in many different spaces, because if it's anything you'll realize is that a legal mind cuts across many different sectors, especially when we talk about governance. We talk about any day-to-day operation of any business will always require that legal mind. And even when we talk about people who are in-house counsel, in many instances, they're not required to go to a court because, they deal with contract drafting or preparing certain documents. You have certain lawyers who just do international. Some lawyers who just advise people on the points of law. So there's many room for the different diverse interests that are out there. So if you're into this idea, especially if going into Norman Manley, you realize that child advocacy isn't your thing or your cup of tea, then there will be room for your skills outside of that space. And it's just, for you to test the waters, explore different options and opportunities. And trust me, you'll find your footing. You'll find your footing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harper. I think a lot of times our idea of an attorney is influenced heavily by what we see on television. And so we see the fancy attorneys in the courtroom and we want to be like Annalise Keating, or we want to be like the Suits guy. I'm not so sure of his name, but we see these
Harvey
persons.
Specter.
Harvey Specter, yes, that's right. So we want
Just
to
call
be
him
like
the
the
Suits
Harvey
guy.
Specters. Pardon me?
Just calling the suits guy.
And Mike, I think there's a
I'm
Mike.
so
I'm sorry.
appalled. I'm so appalled. Like,
but don't let me laugh. Okay, so continuing. Any other persons would like to answer that question? What advice would you
I
give to
think I would
persons
also
or
like
grade
to
law
chime in on
students?
that.
Sure, go ahead, Renice.
Are you hearing me? Is everybody hearing me? Okay, you're hearing me. Actually, the funny thing is, I want to do something in the area of entertainment law. Um, I think litigation. I think I may spend a couple years if I do get a job in litigation. I may do like 5 years or something like that because I think it can give me some sort of experience that is really good. And at the end of the day, I don't see myself doing litigation for the rest of my life. It is very stressful. And I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. Close to the entertainment field, and I can be their in-house counsel. That's really what I want to do. And so the advice I have to give to persons is that you don't have to be the traditional lawyer. I've always wanted to do entertainment law, but I will see myself going outside of it. But you don't have to be stuck into it, and you don't have to feel like if you don't do the traditional law, you won't be a lawyer, you won't be, you won't have this fancy thing or this fancy profession. I really want to go there. And so if that's what you really want to do, I think you should explore other options and just keep your mind open. And if you can get the opportunity to work somewhere or do an internship that does something outside of traditional law, that's another way I think you could test the waters and see if it's something that you like. And so that's the advice that I really have for persons who want to practice outside of the traditional courtroom lawyer.
Can I just say
Thank you so
that
much. Go ahead, Jamaica.
speaking as someone who had the pleasure of being a witness in Renice's mock trial yesterday, for someone who is not interested in litigation, she seems to have a real penchant for it. But I'll leave it there. I don't want to add in relation to that question. I don't want to add in relation to that question that the legal education system as it relates to LLB first, LEC after, that was transposed from the British system, which was set up for the very purpose of having people who did not want to go to court, but wanted to be legal practitioners, and the people who also wanted to go to court. Because I think in the old days, and even to some extent still today, it was separated into solicitors and barristers. The solicitors didn't go to court. The barristers took the research that solicitors did and they made the arguments in court. I think that's a testament to show you that as related to the development of the legal profession, court and trial advocacy and these things is a completely different ballgame. It's as far it might as well be its own field of law as it relates to practice. So you can specialize in that, and you can go into that if you want, but by no means is it a necessary path for you to walk as a lawyer. And yes, as much as you may be interested in it, it would be good if you could open your mind to other possibilities. As Christopher said, he's a human rights lawyer, and that's a very interesting area of law. Most of you may not be aware of that. A very impactful area of law if you're that type of person interested in leaving an impact, leaving the world better than you found it. And I think these are the considerations that we should be making. I want to link that back to my earlier point about the diversity of the legal field and how one track some of us think it is, but in reality it's the exact opposite. So that's just something else to give more consideration to.
Thank you for adding that bit, Mr. Charles. And it seems as if I need to speak with Ronice off air because I have an interest in entertainment and she seems like my type of person. But moving along, this question that I'm about to ask, on this call right now, we're having a very candid conversation and everyone seems to be a little friendly with each other. But a lot of times we wonder if the law field is really as cutthroat and hostile as they make it seem on TV. So is law really as cutthroat, or after you guys cutthroat in the courtroom, you just go and have a drink later and everything is cool same way? Miss Peta-Gay Facey, do you want to start first?
Right. I mean, it's so important
Miss
that we're
Facey?
really. You hearing me?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you now.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I think it's so important that we really tackle those sort of, I don't know, stereotypes that are said about attorneys, because it's actually a part of the code of ethics that you are friendly with your colleagues. So all of us are called to one bar. All of us are, consider ourselves to be colleagues, right? So there's actually a principle that you're supposed to treat, even in a litigation matter, you're supposed to treat the other person on the other side, in a friendly manner, because it's important that we appreciate that we're really just advancing our client's interests. So we're not supposed to be taking it up, putting it up in arms and feeling as if it's our position to put forward. We're just doing it in a professional manner. So from my experience, I mean, there are a few exceptions to the rule, of course, but I've found my interaction with other attorneys to be good. Persons are very cordial. Even, I mean, I don't go to court much, but I've had experiences with other attorneys from private firms, even attorneys like Christopher, where they represent, for example, like civil society organizations, and I represent the government, and it's usually we're usually good. I hardly see the hostility that people think is inside a legal fraternity. Because at the end of the day, you know that I have friends who are in private practice, and sometimes I will call them up and ask them their advice on particular things. And you'll see that so much even after leaving law school, that all the persons who you graduate with, you can always call on them and ask them for their advice on a particular thing. Even attorneys who are older than you can pick their brain on a particular particular matter and just ask their advice. So there's really not much hostility in the legal fraternity.
All right, thank you, Miss Facey. Mr. Castle, do you want to attempt that question?
Yeah, sure. You guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I just want to say that yes, I mean, when you get into litigation, right? Everybody, we're all humans at the end of the day. However, just like Peta-Gay said, there are certain rules of ethics or codes of ethics that we're supposed to follow as counsel. And there's a reason why we say certain things in court, like when you're addressing the court, you would say, "My lady," as my friend would have said, even though that's somebody that's on the other side, advancing the other side's case, you refer to them as your friend. There are certain reasons why we say we're most grateful for this to happen. You understand? Most grateful to the court, grateful to our friends. Even in just writing letters, I remember going to a CLE seminar, and one Queen's Counsel got up and said, "Nowadays, young attorneys aren't as courteous as we were taught to be." Don't quote me exactly, but he said something to that effect. And he said, because even in writing, they don't use kindly, they don't use please, they don't use I'm grateful. It makes a big difference. I can tell you, even when you're writing a strongly worded letter, you at times use words that are kind of crouched in just courtesy. You see, even if you're threatening to do something, you would say to them, I strongly, or I kindly ask you to consider my client's position for the following reasons. You understand? Most recently, I've had to write a letter like that. I had a personal injury matter, and I had to, and it was senior counsel. I mean, not senior by much, but it doesn't matter. It's respect. And not just whether or not the person is older than you or younger than you at the bar, you should always have respect for them, right? And I had to tell them that pretty much I've done in my short time in practice several of these matters, and the amount of money that you're asking for. I said it in a nice way. I just want to tell you guys, Roger. I said pretty much the amount of money that you're asking for. It's crazy to ask for that. And even if you go to court, the judge not gonna give it. Even if you win, the judge is not gonna give it. So it's better to settle the matter and let's move on. But I said it in a very nice way. I didn't mean anything by it, but I just simply said to them, look, these matters, this is what
how they usually run based on your client's injuries, based on the medical reports that you have provided to me. You're not going to get more than X amount. So I strongly ask you to consider my position based on these things, and you should always just be nice, right? The cutthroat thing, it does come through at times. I mean, sometimes persons may have a bad day, and you just really, well, I don't want to say it like that. You're really just adding to the burden or adding the straws on top of the camel's back. And they just may choose to lose it on you. And no matter what, let me tell you something. No matter what, guys, keep it cool. Don't let people draw you out, right? Always be respectful. I'm not saying you must take disrespect from persons, but when you're responding to the disrespect, don't lose your cool on it. You understand? Don't lose your cool. And you may see, and just it's true, you may see some attorneys seeming like they're in some heated, exchanges in court, but then after that matter is done with, you see them a couple weeks later or months later at the same bar having a drink and talking. I was advised by a senior counsel at one point prior to being called that when you're in like especially a big, a highly publicized matter, your client does not want to see you, or even just a heated matter. It could be like a heated chambers application. Your client doesn't want to see you outside of the chambers or outside a court, chummy with the lawyer on the other side. They don't want to see, they don't like it because while you may not have a personal thing against them, your client, you have to remember that your client and their client probably hate each other. And your client will come to you and say, then oh, me see I talk to the lawyer, so like my friend, I'm making trick you, I'm making trick you. I see my try nice you up, or I see the lady I try nice you up. No, I want my money or something like that. You understand? It's just the truth. So it's competitive, but it's like a sport. Just like anybody here that watches football would see another player tackle a player hard on the field. But then when they're getting up after the both of them end up on the ground, he helps the other one up, pats him on the shoulder and says, let's go. You understand? It's like that. It's like a contact sport, I'd say. Just to wrap up all I was saying. I just want to say something though.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say one thing on the area of entertainment law, Ronnie's and Akila. What do you think entertainment law is made up of? I just want to know. Because
it's a lot of contracts.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot to do with contracts and commercial. I think it has a lot to do with intellectual property. And I think it mixes and dabbles into a lot of other things. So
yeah, but you know
that's what
you're breaking
I mean. I think that's what I mean.
Yeah. You guys hearing? We're breaking up a bit. I just wanna say, yeah, man. You guys hearing us, or are we falling off?
Yes, Sean. You were saying you want.
Oh, it looks like that question mash up the life, man.
It's because you're asking. I'm the one that's supposed to be asking, but you can continue, Sean.
I thought it was like a laid back discussion. I didn't know it was like a question and answer like that. My apologies.
No, man, it's a discussion. I was just teasing you, but you may continue. We want to be edified in any way possible.
Yeah, I mean, let me show you why I would have said what I said initially about the years of practice and them connecting. You have a client, let's say you have a new artist, a client who's a new hot artist, and they start to make a lot of money. They start to do $1 million dubs. Like they make like $5 million a week off of dubs, or even $5 million a day. And best believe that happens because some artists can charge $500 a dub, $1,000 a dub. You understand? And they knock out 20 a day and that kind of thing, right? When they have that money, you know what's one of the first things you should say to them or ask them, especially if they're an artist that's in an, I don't want to single out any particular genre, but if they're an artist in and they record certain kind of music that would make them susceptible to their environment. You guys should understand what I'm saying. One of the things you should ask them is, yo, you have like you have kids, right? Yeah, you have kids. All right, you have a will. That's how you get more work from them. You get what I'm saying? And that brings you into the area of probate. Sometimes you may ask them, yeah, you're making a bag of money, but you're paying rent at this expensive house. You probably rent a house in Beverly Hills, Iron Shore, wherever.
right? But why you don't buy your own house? You're making $5 million a day. You could buy a nice apartment for $30 million. And if you structure your thing properly, and see where I'm going now, if you structure your thing properly and make your thing into a company, make your brand into a company, you can now have some track record so you can get a loan from the bank. So you can get a mortgage. You see how many areas I done touch on already? And then eventually that same, because him just know you as lawyer. People just, once you're a lawyer to them, anything. Since I've been on this call, and I can say it without saying it, since I've been on this call, and my friend is right there, and he can tell you, since I've been on this call, if I'm lying, he can correct me. One of my entertainment law clients called me and told me that, yo, somebody from a station call him, right? And say, asking them some questions. And I just had to put them on to my friend one of my colleague who practices in that area. So we share the work in that kind of way. And I said, here's what I'm gonna make you talk to this lawyer on that point of things. But had I been like a jack of all trades like that, I would have had to get up and handle it. And this is real life. That's why you see me jump on and off because I'm talking to you on my phone. But you see how many areas just an entertainment lawyer may end up having to answer questions on, because you don't want your client to lose faith in you. You say to you, they not, if you say to him, why you know me not too know about that side there? I say they're not lawyer, man, how you know for know? It's just the truth.
And that's so true. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
That's so true.
how
Something I really
we're going for running Wi-Fi. Hello?
Yes, it's a bit shaky, but we were hearing you clearly.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, go ahead, Renice.
No, I was just agreeing with him and saying I completely understand what he's saying and seeing where it's coming from.
Yeah, man. Your client probably your same artist client. I mean, look how many artists you read in the newspaper end up in car accidents. Your same artist, and they don't have to be a recording artist. They could be a graphic artist, right? They could be a videographer. They could be, a photographer. They use their money and they buy assets. And they could end up in a car accident. And guess who they're gonna call first? When they think lawyer, guess who they're gonna call first?
You the one lawyer, because
the same lawyer that they know.
Yeah, they don't really see us as really special. They know you and they're saying just about anything they're going to call on you, and you have to be able to not be so narrow-minded. I think that's what Sean was hinting to, because the reality is they will come to you with more than one stuff, and you just have to get on the ball. And if you're not so versed on the area, as Sean said, you probably have to link somebody else and share the work. Is that so, Sean? Am I understanding you clearly?
Yeah, that's true. You can't get all the money in the world, my friend. You can't. You can't. I mean, and don't be afraid to call your colleagues. I've called persons that were called to the bar after me because I know that they specialize in a particular area. I call them and say, hey, I know you do this every day, so I have some thoughts on it. Tell me what you think or what you've learned. And it's just the truth. It's not no ego thing. You shouldn't have an ego, so much of an ego where you can't call somebody that's junior to you at the bar. You get what I'm saying? But so to go into your next question now, Akila, sorry for taking over your life.
No problem. We want to learn as much as possible, and that was a good point to make, because one, you can't just be too locked in on any one thing, and two, you have to know when to ask for help, right? And because of a truth, you don't want to lose the client. And if I call you as a client and you're kind of buffering on it and you sound unsure, then boy, I'm find an next attorney, and that's just the reality. But okay, to keep it moving, we're going to segue a little bit to the NMLS students. One, we want to talk about scholarships. Is there any scholarship at Norman Manley Law School? You know, we have third years on the call and it's a lot of money to pay, and we just want to know if any opportunities are available and how they can maximize on those opportunities. So, Mr. Amor.
I'm coming. So there are actually various scholarship opportunities that are available. But the most important part of it is that you have to ask. You have to really be willing to call the school and find out what is there. There's different things that are available at the school. Some law firms actually provide some scholarships for students. So you have to just keep an eye on everything, because really and truly, you realize that a lot of the scholarships aren't applied for because persons don't necessarily really inquire. So the truth is, the scholarships aren't going to drop in your lap. They're not going to just arrive to you and you're going to see it and they send you the application form. Sometimes you have to just do some digging to find it. And keep your eyes open for some other opportunities on social media. You might see some interesting scholarships where you have to just write an essay. I also encourage you all to consider thinking of studying elsewhere, like thinking of going overseas. So I know there's something like the Shielding Scholarship, as alluded to before. The Shielding Scholarship requires it's an interesting application process. You write, I think, 3 essays. You apply to a university overseas, I think in the UK, and you'll be surprised how quickly they respond when you apply to a university in the UK. People think that, okay, it's a UK university, you won't be hearing back from them. If you apply today, you're probably hearing back from them tomorrow. So all of this can be done to give yourself the best opportunity within your academic life. So that is what I would have to say on that.
And I think
Thank you
Mr.
so
Harper
much.
can speak on that
Yes, I
in
was about to
relation
say
to
that.
yes.
Yes, Mr. Harper, based on my knowledge, is a Chevening scholar.
Achieving
And
scholar.
Mr. Any words on that? Yes, go
Hello,
ahead.
you broke up. You broke up. I didn't catch the last bit.
Oh, I was just saying any words on that matter, how the application process
Oh,
and stuff like that.
okay. So I think there are, for even those of you who are LLB students who might not necessarily, want to venture into the NMLS route, you have the Rhodes Scholarship that you can apply for. You also do have like the Commonwealth Scholarship, but as a Shielding Scholar recipient, I guess what that allowed is that it focuses more on the work that you've been doing, the contributions that you've made, and there's no year limit like the roads. So I think the roads goes up to like 25 or 26, whereas Shielding, somebody in the 80s can literally get the Shielding scholarship. But what they look at is the work. So the good thing about the scholarship, and I know some persons who would have immediately left law school would have been eligible for the Shielding scholarship and the different other things, because if we think about like Kai, Bridgewater, and Samuel Bailey, and all of them, they are more or less fresh grads and they're all pursuing no programs overseas through scholarships. So these are things that we can consider. And I mean, there are also very good opportunities for law students in particular, because if you really look over the years as to who've been successful in obtaining many of these scholarships, you'll see a long history of law students, because you just kind of have to appreciate that we kind of do a full an immersive experience that kind of sometimes puts us at an advantage. But for those of you who are interested in it, it counts voluntary experience, it counts internships, it counts on any kind of unpaid work. So it's not that you have to be in like a paid job for a long time to be eligible for the scholarship. But what is more concerned about is what's the impact that you've had in your work life to really be considered eligible. And the good thing about the Shielding Scholarship in comparison to the Rhodes is that usually there are about 20 out of them. So your odds are quite better than Rhodes, because with the Rhodes are just one scholarship. So, but the Shielding one, there are about usually 27, between 24 and 27 yearly. So you would literally have a better chance with the Shielding Scholarship. And if any of you on the call want to, talk to me or ask me questions about the Shielding Scholarship, because even some law students have already reached out to me, helping me to guide them about, their applications and what to anticipate. So if anyone reach out to me, then that's absolutely fine.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Harper. And you guys heard it from the man himself. He's a Chevening scholar. So you can definitely talk to him afterwards if you have any more questions. All right, continuing with the NMLS students, there's possibly first-year students on the call, second-year students, and we're still adapting to the law life. And so this question reads, the life of a law student is filled with reading. Do you have any strategies for effective reading, especially considering the heavier workload at law school? So any tips on how we can manage this reading load? Miss Grant.
Well, what I wanted to get out to you guys before you go to law school is your mindset, right? At faculty, believe it or not, you do have students that went through faculty, never read a full case, right? And you got your degree, right? Now, at the law school, you have, even at the faculty, you have students that never go to class yet, go sit the exam, then get through, then get them degree, right? At law school, first and foremost, you have to go to class because you have to go to class 75% of the, you have to go to 75% of the classes for the year. That's the first thing. Second, you cannot, save and accept the very few who have done it. You cannot go through and not read, right? And read being understanding the material. And in order to do that, you can't do that last minute. You absolutely cannot do it last minute like what you do at faculty. Obviously, you have people like myself that did not start September 1 when school started. But the best advice that I got, don't make January, February pass, and you have not started preparing. But the even better advice that I got was that to just try to keep up. So in classes, what they normally do is try to divide the work. The tutors do that. They would assign a case to a person, assign a topic to a person, a question to a person. If you get the question, do it, right? Because what you would be relying on is when somebody else gets a question or a case to read, you rely on them because then you don't have to do all of that work. And when they do it properly and they discuss it in class, more than likely you don't have to go over the case in full, or you just know where exactly or what exactly you want from that case. So if you hate reading at this point, right, I would tell you when you start law school, just to take it little by little, because then at the end it will be daunting and you're not going to want to read everything at the end. So the little by little, you get your one case for your tutorial, just do the one case for the tutorial. And even if you did a little work there and you go to the class, you get more from the tutor as well. So do the little by little each week and do your prep, and you realize that you really do get a lot done. And by the end of the year, the big manual that you're going to see like this thick, it doesn't seem that daunting at the end. So especially those who don't like reading, start early, because that little will help you.
Can I jump in?
Thank you so much, Miss Grant. Okay, Mr. Jamet, go ahead.
I think first and foremost, I'm grateful for being a panelist here because hearing Samantha speak is very helpful to me because right now the advocacy manual is very daunting. So I'm glad to know that that will pass eventually. That I could show it to y'all now. It's thick, very thick, thicker than any textbook you're using at faculty right now. But as she said, definitely, it's a key thing to be mindful of your mindset. I have classmates who are proud to tell you with upper second class and first class honors degrees that the only case they ever read in full was the one that we were assigned to brief in first year for LMRW. I think that was Wilkinson and Downton. And they never read a full case after that. And it is very possible to get your degree and get your degree with distinction and with first class honors without putting in all the work that you're told that you need to. But you don't know if you're one of those lucky few, so you need to put it in now. But when you get to Norman Manley, as Samantha said, it's a different ballgame. They first of all, they take attendance at classes, as she say, and you need to have attended 75% of your classes in order to be eligible to sit your exams. And that that was one of the biggest adjustments for me because my last year of faculty was hectic and it found me, absent from many classes. And so to jump into a new school now and to find that I'm required, if I even want to pass the first year, to sit down in this class and to stay present when my name is called and to stay there for the full hour. Whew, okay. But yes, it's something you're gonna have to prepare for mentally. So that's something I wish I had done from before. Also, as it relates to the type of the teaching styles that they have, it's different in that Samantha is perfectly correct. They assign work every week. That's really the what's responsible for it being such an adjustment. You have work to do for every class every week. Your lectures, you might can get away with your lectures not being prepared for your lectures because it's everybody in the lecture, but your tutorials is smaller groups. And if it is that you're assigned a case brief or a letter to draft or something, and you come next week and you're not prepared, you're going to look bad and feel embarrassed first of all, and you're going to set the whole class back. Because I've seen one lecturer cancel a class because we were not prepared. She said it made no sense to keep the class if it is that we had not done the work in preparation for it. And so we need to come back next week. And she was just very serious and matter of fact about it. She wasn't hurt, she wasn't upset, she was just letting you know that this is how it's going to go. If you're not prepared for the class, it don't make sense at teaching. What is it going to do? And she literally canceled the class after 15 minutes. And all of us fled to Twitter talking about how this is crazy and we never experienced this before. But in hindsight, now looking back, we should have done the work. And best believe, you know who's not going to be unprepared for another class again. That's me. And so these are the type of things that you need to be prepared for. The things that seem intuitive, you need to do the work, you need to be prepared for class, but you're also not in the habit of doing. And so you need to understand that about yourself and put things in order for you to put your best foot forward at normally. Normally is an adjustment. Even if you are in the habit of doing these things, the consistent work for every class is still a step up. It's still a new burden, a new onerous burden on you. And you need to say, hey, it's time to raise my game. I recently bought a whiteboard. For some reason, I thought I was going to switch it up a little for them. I thought it was going to help me with my studying. So far, it hasn't done all what I hoped it would, but I think it's getting there. You have to try new things, guys. It's my point. You have to try new things. But yes, that's my 2 cents on normally.
All right. Sticking again with the Norman law students, seeing that we don't know where COVID is going, especially second years who would have at least experienced sometime face to face. What is it like now being strictly online? How do you manage to get around that disturbance, or is it better for you, Miss Renice?
Wow, well, it's a transition. I thought that I would have preferred to have online because honestly, I waking up, I used to have mostly 8 o'clock classes, 8 or 9 o'clock. So and I live far. I don't live on campus, neither do I live close to campus. I have to travel for like an hour to get to school. And I used to find myself falling asleep while driving. That has happened before. So in that regard, I'm glad for that. But at the same time, it can be so like you don't go to school, you don't get to see your friends, you don't get to be as practical. Especially yesterday, I had my mock trial and it was online, and I really, really, really wanted to experience that, that real court experience of, the judge in front of you, the court counsel beside you, and really the theatrics of it all. I really wanted to get that experience, but I wasn't able to. But it's a big adjustment as well because sometimes you may find it harder to get out of bed in the morning, especially because you're like, oh, class is like roll out of bed, and But what I've tried to do is I've tried to create a schedule and I've tried to follow it in some sense. So if I have an 8 o'clock class, I'm up by 6:30 so that I can get my breakfast ready. I can shower, I can prepare myself. So as soon as class starts, I'm really ready and I'm not rushing. and looking lazy and tired and then want to fall asleep in class. So that's one of the way in which it has helped me. I really and truly do miss physical school a whole lot. Even though I didn't I didn't like it sometimes because of the traveling, but I guess we just have to adapt because these are just the times, and COVID has really taught us a lot that sometimes we don't need to leave our houses to do a lot of things, and we just have to adapt to this because this is our new normal. It may be hard, especially because you don't get to see your friends and all of that, but we just have to work with it and try our best. So my way of coping with it is to just schedule, set my alarms. Sometimes I don't wake up. So if I'm supposed to wake up 6:30, my alarm start from 5:30 and go on. So 5:30, 5:35, all the way up. And I even set it after just in case I don't wake up. So that's really the method to my madness. And just scheduling and making sure that even after class, I don't just go to sleep or just do what I'm not supposed to do. I still try my best to schedule after class. Okay, I'm going to prepare myself for the next day. And I have more time because I've cut out traveling, so it's way less time for me. So that's really my 2 cents on having virtual school instead of physical school.
Thank you so much, Renice. And that is definitely discipline. And to everyone who's on the call, I just want to say, if you have the 8 o'clock class, don't roll out of bed 8:05. Renee said that she set the alarm 6:30 and the alarm from 5:30. But you have to do what you have to do to ensure that you are prepared and don't take it for granted because class is right on my laptop. I'm just going to roll out of bed when class is supposed to start. Mr. Amor, do you have anything to share as it relates to navigating the virtual school? All right. Okay.
Something that is very important to realize about the virtual schooling environment is that you're really subject to a lot of things that you have no control of. One of them being internet, one of them just being the environment that you're in sometimes, because I know that some persons might go to school at home and they live in a house that they have many other family members doing all kind of things at the same time. So it causes some difficulty because of that. Some good things that come from it, though, it gives you some sort of flexibility. So while I'm actually in this meeting, I have a class playing in the background. I'm actually an evening stream student, so my class has just started. So I'm trying to do this at the same time. So with that, you get some flexibility. Also, a very important factor about online school is preparation. Don't think because you're online you can get complacent, because really and truly the schoolwork really does catch up on you same way. And I know that a lot of us had some issues when we are starting, because it was really hard to take everything as seriously as we wanted to take it. But as some time comes, as we develop a rhythm, we realize that, okay, there's a formula. This can actually be done. We can work ourselves through this and we can achieve what we wanted to achieve. So, my general advice on online schooling is be prepared. You have to be disciplining yourself through the process, because you have to tell yourself, all right, even though I don't have to physically be there in class, I need to put on the clothes that I need to put on for class. I know a lot of us, the men, we have some issue wearing pants because we don't want to wear. Nobody can see the pants. But the decisions that we make for ourselves when no one can see that we're making the decisions can help us be more disciplined persons. So just be as disciplined as possible and just do what you have to do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amor. Okay, so this is my final question, and then I will open the floor for a Q&A segment from our lovely audience who has been listening so keenly. Though this is the reality forum, we still want to leave on a bit of an inspirational note, to encourage us as law students to stay the course or to do what works for you. I don't know what your inspiration will be to them, but I'm just going to ask you, how did you know that law was for you? And what last bit of advice or, a little charge would you give to us as law students, starting with Mr. Harper?
Quickly repeat that question. Sorry about that.
All right, so I was saying that this is my final question to you. And so I'm asking you, how did you know that law was for you? And I'm also asking you to leave a bit of a charge to us as law students. I don't know what you're going to say to us, if you're going to say, well, stay the course, or you're going to tell us, do what's best for you. But I'm leaving that up to you to just say as you feel led.
All right, so I think what made me realize I wanted to be a law student or even continue through with this is I guess I was looking at the bigger picture at the time, because even from being enrolled in it, I was just like, even if I don't want to practice, I know at the end of the day I will always be a lawyer, even on paper. And someone had said this to me, that you're a lawyer until you can no longer sign a document. So that has always stuck through with me, because at the end of the day, I know that this has its merit in respective spaces, and that's what really inspired me to continue through with it amongst different mentors across different spaces, because I think mentorship is one of the big things that motivated me to continue, like hearing from senior persons, hearing from persons who have gone through it, hearing from persons who would have had an opportunity to even make space or take up space for themselves is what kept me going through this particular thing. It wasn't easy. Norman Manley was not a pleasurable experience for me. Like, to this day I don't acknowledge it, but I guess the nugget of advice that I would give to persons is really to, I guess, stay true to what you want to get from this. It might not come to you immediately. You might have to do a little bit of soul searching, a little bit of thinking. But once you've realized how you are going to position this experience, then um, let that be the motivating factor or the guide for you. And I think one of the other best advice I've gotten respect concerning Norman Manley is get in and get out. That has been my mantra for all of law school: get in and get out. So that's what I have to share.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harper. Get in and get out. I don't think I'll forget that one. Miss Facey, over to you.
Right. For me, I think probably two important experiences that made me more convinced that I wanted to do the law, and probably made when I did mooting in a third year. And I realized that law really allowed you to have a sphere of influence. And it's a good way how you can be able to steward the influence that you have. And also it gives you a platform, and it gives you an opportunity to like basically put out your voice in the world, right? And I think another one was actually when I tutored. Um, even just seeing Ronnie's now, and when persons reach out to me, it's just another example of how law allows you to have that sphere of influence, as I mentioned earlier. And my recommendation to persons is don't let how you did at law school or at faculty sort of kind of predispose you to how you're going to do in practice. So even though my experience was good, and I also concur with Christopher, just get in and get out when you come on to law school. Like, just get in and get out, honestly. But when you actually start to practice, that's when you'll really be able to make a name for yourself, and just really make sure that you operate with integrity, and just appreciate that this is really your life to steward. So how you treat persons, how you carry out your work, how you do things when persons aren't even looking at you, those are the things that's really going to basically be helping you build that reputation, and so that you can be proud of yourself, persons looking on can be proud of you, right? And also, don't be perturbed if you don't know exactly what you're going to do when you're coming out, because there's so much time, there's so many things that you can do, and there's so many experiences that's basically going to shape, in terms of what you decide that you want to do. And just always try and make good use of every experience that you have, because each experience is basically like guiding you for the experience, further on. So it's just important to make sure that you just do well in whatever you do, because how you do well, even with the small things, that's basically going to be providing great opportunity for things to come. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you so much, Miss Tracy. Mr. Castle, your final words to us as law students. How did you know that law was for
Again,
you? Yes?
oh, I mean, I realized at some point that all my other interests, I always tell people if I wasn't a lawyer, I'd be a marketer, right? Because when you sign up for UA, you can sign up for 2 different degrees. I signed up for marketing and I signed up for law. And I got accepted to law and then got accepted for marketing. And in all reality, I was having a discussion with my friend, and he said, here's what, you can have a law degree and be a marketer, but you can't be a marketer and be a lawyer, or have a marketing degree and be a lawyer. And as a lawyer, you're gonna need some marketing expertise, to build your brand or whatever it is. And law is a profession where, I mean, marketing is too, but you have to build up yourself more. Law is a profession where you can, like I said before at the beginning of this call, the day you get called, you can determine your own path in life. You hear me? So that's kind of what led me to say, and finding out more about the different areas of law and how deep it can go. Like literally every day, somebody asks me some question, and I love to help people. And I, as a business person and as an entrepreneur and a marketer, problem solving is one of my key skills, and that's what law is. Sometimes sometimes me and some of our brethren have a joke where sometimes people ask us and them say, "Why you look so miserable?" Or "Why you look so only there at work sometime, but me see other place you look happy." And we have to say to them like, law is literally the only profession where people come to you every day with problems. People rarely ever come to you and say, "Hey, I just win the lottery, $200 million. Say a 2 million, I hold it." Nobody ever says, every day people come, this problem, that problem. For you, you sometimes are a counselor, especially if you're practicing areas of family law. You see, you're sometimes a counselor for people. You get me? Sometimes even in probate, you have to remember. Sometimes when people drop down dead, I said to some of my probate clients, or my estate clients, is like when somebody dies, it's like a big tree that falls in a right.
All right. I think Sean is experiencing some technical difficulties, but he was just talking to us about the life of a lawyer and how it's probably just a lot of problem solving. And so until Sean can come back on the call, we keep it moving because we are short for time. So, Mr. Charles, what is your final tip to us, and how did you know that law was for you? A little bit of inspiration, a little bit of reality. Give us both. Mr. Charles.
Bye bye guys. Bye bye guys. This is
Oh,
where
okay, you're back. All right,
yeah.
Sean.
Yeah. I just found it so funny where I was talking about dead stuff, man, and my phone died. So I joined back on my laptop. So, it's a sealer. So I won't bother tell that story. If I don't want to know that story, you can ask me another time. Right? But I'm just saying that my thing, Akira, from the start has always been just be yourself. Just be comfortable in whatever you're doing, man. You'll be happiest there. You
Yeah.
understand? You always be happiest there. Just so that is why I realize that the criminal side of things, while it's exciting, I mean, Civ can be exciting, but not as much as crim. I realize that this is not where I want to go. So I just stopped doing that. Even though I was somewhat groomed by heavy criminal practitioners. I mean, I was called to the bar by Tom Tavares Finson, and I was roped by Christopher Townsend. You get what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I just knew that I just felt it in my gut, and I always say trust your gut. I just felt it in my gut that crime thing was not for me, right? And so that's why I do the civ thing, you see me? So that's my thing for you guys. I mean, I can go on and on, but that's my thing. Just be yourself. Do what's comfortable for you. When you're in school, the one piece of advice I got right before I started law school was at least prepare for your tutorials every day. Just at least if you're not going to nothing else, once you prepare for your tutorials, you will be fine. fine enough to probably pass through the place. Not say the top no thing and be like Chris them and be on principals on a roll and da. Not saying those things are but those things are big things, big accomplishment that. But I'm just saying, do what makes you feel good and be true to yourself, my friends. Don't see people and don't envy them, for what they have, whether in school or out of school. Work hard, because once you're genuine, you're gonna reap the rewards, and that's my piece.
Thank you so
Was I
much,
the last
Mr.
person?
Pardon me?
Oh no, I was just wondering if I was the last person.
You were the last attorney to answer that question, but we're going to move into the NMLS students. All right.
Okay.
So, Mr. Charles, I was calling on you whilst Mr. Castle was having some difficulties.
I honestly don't know what to say. Choosing law for me was one of the harder choices I've made in my young life. I was someone who grew up being fascinated by literally everything that I did not know. I was fascinated by. To this day, if you can do something that I can't, I am very much impressed with you. It could be lifting up something that's too heavy for me to lift up. I am fascinated by it. So for me, in high school, I was a science student all the way up to upper six. I was in love with physics. Me and maths did all right. We never in love, but we were okay. And I was well on my path to engineering, specifically civil engineering. And then I don't even remember what initially drew me to law or pointed me towards law. But when I started taking it seriously, considering it as a viable option for my life, and I did my research, because I'm a person who will do a lot of research before I undertake anything. I realized I saw what it was. I realized that I liked what it was about. Law, I realized, is the hallmark of civilization. Law is the legal system, especially in Western society, is what facilitates every other happening in society. Honestly, if law and order was to break down, we would be living in chaos, as we all know. I mean, we're not far from it right now in 2020, but we're not there yet. But I saw that practicing law was a way in which a refusal to be subdued by the world. That was for me what it was. That's how it reached me. And if you can master the rules of the society around you, then there's a lot that there's not much that you're incapable of doing. Gradually over my years at faculty, I developed other interests, and I placed less of a visceral emphasis on law. But at the same time, that's where the appeal started. To this day, you will still find me looking up YouTube videos on the tensile strength of different types of steel and the flexibility that they lend to concrete. But law, even though I can see myself doing other things, there's something more there for me. And once you feel it, you feel it. The advice that I would give to I don't know if it's because I haven't been out there in the working world like my other colleagues, make me sound so idealistic, but but when I think the advice that I would give is that a lot of us enter law, including myself, operating on or being attracted to, at least in part, the allure of how society views that profession, that vocation, being attracted to what we thought was the status that would come with being a lawyer, as opposed to it being something that was really in tune with who we were and what we wanted to do in the world, which is not necessary. And if you didn't feel that like how I'm describing it, that's fine. Everybody has their own experience, but the advice is to introspect, to take some time and seriously look into yourself and try to build some self-awareness about what you like, what you don't like, what it is you want to do, what kind of life you see yourself living in 10, 20 years. And to this day, I don't have all the answers to all of that, but I have a general direction. Looking at these questions allowed me to find a starting point. So right now, I don't know what I want to practice. Right now I'm looking at international trade law because I see that's a niche in the legal field, and I see that as a way to step out of the local scene and to go international, and multinational corporations, helping working for government entities, different trade deals and investment contracts. I like the idea of that and working on those things on an international scale, and the impact that these things can have for the ordinary person when you be able to negotiate a deal for foreign investment to Jamaica or something like that. But knowing me, that will change come 2021. So it's really about constantly introspecting and remaining self-aware. And that's the advice I would give you guys. If you want to ensure that law is for you, continue to check whether or not you still feel what you felt when you were first attracted to it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. And I do hope that today's session at least allowed you to dip your foot in the water, that is to the audience, to start asking yourself the necessary questions, to check up on yourself and to know, where do I want to go as a law student? Where do I want to go as an upcoming attorney? Where do I see myself? These are the questions that we want to ensure that we leave in your minds today, because as the name of the forum, it's a reality forum. We've already passed the big dreams, the idea of being an attorney. We've already passed the Annalise Keating and the Harvey Specter. I got it right this time. So I hope that we've allowed you to do some introspection, as Mr. Charles said, but to keep on with the advice and the lasting moments from each of our panelists today. I'm going to ask Ms. Grant to speak next.
Okay, so I had somewhat of a similar journey. I'm a planner, so I fully started to plan where I wanted to go to college, what I wanted to do from I was in fourth form. And obviously I had fifth form, upper six and lower six left. But growing up, I watched the crime shows, but I was a science student. Chemistry was my favorite subject. I wanted to do forensic science, right? So NCIS, that type of that was me, right? I knew I wanted to do something in justice, and I was all about justice and fairness, and but then I always loved science. I was just like, what's the crossover? And I was like, okay, forensic science. Prepared everything, applied to universities, did my SATs, got in, and I did law in sixth form. So when I reached sixth form and I got the taste of law, because we're choosing subjects, and I was like, I'm gonna do forensic science, which is like crossover between like law and justice and sciences. And then I was like, okay, I'll do biochem, physics, and law. Law was my favorite subject, like off the bat. Like I just fell in love with it in sixth form. And I was like, let me apply to UWI. UWI was my safe school. Then I really loved the law. I just fell in love with it. And of course, it had a lot of different other factors. But then I ended up deciding to go to UWI because even to practice law in the US, you'd have to do undergrad. I went that far to researching. Okay, even if I end up wanting to do law, I would do my undergrad in forensics and then go to law school afterwards. And really and truly, it came down to I just love law. I did very well at it in high school, and I did very well at it in high school, topped my year group for law, and I was like, yeah man, law love me too, because at that point in time, chemistry never loved me anymore anyway. So I ended up going to law, and I realized I really loved helping people as well. So helping people, service, that was me all the way. In high school, when I was at faculty, that's something that I loved. I did not segue into leadership until until the latter part of high school, but I always loved helping. And I realized that, as Sean said, problem solving, service, all of that really tied into me making that decision as well, and realizing that this is my calling. So that is the whole decision as it relates to law. And really, I too don't know what I'm going to practice or want to practice, and I figured out that that was okay because when I was at faculty, I first wanted to be a prosecutor, and then I said I don't want to do anything with crim, and a very senior attorney. When I said that I don't want to do crim at all, he said, "Did you start law school yet?" And I said, "No." Because at that point in time, I was like, I want to do civil litigation because I did mooting and I know I want to litigate, but civil. And he said, listen, you don't know anything yet. Keep your mind open, right? You haven't even gone to law school, you haven't even practiced. Keep your mind open. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm keeping my mind open to the opportunity. I want to try crime, I want to try civil, wherever I find myself going and the opportunity comes up, that is where I'm going to go and I'm going to put my best foot forward. So I think that having that mindset of trying to doing your introspection and wherever you are planted, water yourself, feed yourself, and grow, right? So I ended up at UE. I grew, I put my all into my experience there. I got everything I could get from UE. And same for law school. Well, I'm on a different mindset right now that going and not spending more time than I need to there is first and foremost. But just to leave it all to you guys, just wherever you go, wherever you are planted. Not everyone will go to law school. Some people want to do academics. I'm still open to that. Um, Although I know I want to practice, I may want to do my master's as well. And so just to keep your mind open to adapting wherever you decide to go, wherever life takes you, because sometimes not you are not the only factor at play. Sometimes it's whatever the cards deal to you. And even then, wherever you end up, do your best. Try your best because it is for you and your future. And as much as possible, I think my mom told me this, that whatever decision you want to do now, and that was when I was in fourth form, third form, choosing subjects, whatever you want to do, just choose it so that you can have a choice later. So whatever you do now, do it so that you can have the choice later. You're not closing yourself off or being closed-minded, and then down the road you're like, I wish I could have, would have, whatever. So that is my advice to you guys. Bloom, grow where you're planted, and give yourself the opportunity to have those choices as well at a later point. So put in the work now. So even if you decide so you don't want to be a lawyer down the road, you have the opportunity to be a lawyer if down the road again you decide that you want to practice. So that's my advice. Take it easy, guys. People have done it. You can do it. It is doable, even now when we're transition, right? And we are all here. You have colleagues before you, hundreds by the hundreds. So call them, make use of them, and get advice. You don't know it all, and people have done it. So that's it for me, guys.
Thank you so much, Miss Grant. People have done it, and so we can do it as well. Miss Ronnie Simpson, if you are still here, we'd love to hear from you. How did you know that law was for you, and what is your inspirational bit to us? Sorry if you're just telling us to just get in and get out. We want to hear it nonetheless.
Okay, so my love for law kind of started off by watching Legally Blonde. Because I mean, Elwood loves the color pink, and anybody who knows me knows I love pink. And yes, so it started from there, and watching her on Legally Blonde, I just really loved it, and it inspired me, and that's where my love started. Also, I really, as I said earlier, I want to venture into entertainment law and all of that. So I really love the entertainment industry, something that I've always been involved in or I've always been around. And so I saw a way to, kind of pair the two and say, okay, this is something that I really wanted to do. And from there, I started to research about it, and it kind of, that's what really, really started and drove me to where I am now. And it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I think I'm still on that path. Sometimes the road gets discouraging, but you will meet a lot of persons above you, persons who are ahead of you. For example, I met Miss Spacey. She was the sweetest tutor ever. She's very brilliant, very humble, and she really encouraged me. She's very inspirational. Um, and she's really the person that taught me how to dissect a case in first year, and I'm really grateful for that because it's something that's helping me up to this day, and it's going to help me for the rest of my legal career when I do start it. So it's just very important to remember why you started, and you will meet a lot of persons on the journey who will help to encourage you and push you further. And I know sometimes it may be hard to find that fire that you initially started with, but somewhere along the line, you will meet somebody or you will find that fire to keep you going, to keep you burning. Also, this year, my senior, he really and truly inspired me a lot to keep going, and that's why I'm still on this journey. And for normal Manley, I just say to just get in and just get out. Honestly, I just want to be done. As much as I say the experience is fun, it's very traumatic. So I just want to be out. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. That's my words of inspiration to all of you.
Thank you so much, Miss Renice. As we wrap up this segment, I'm just going to open the floor to any persons in the audience who would want to ask a question. If you want to do so, just unmute your mic or you can send a message in the chat. But please make it quick because we're short for time. So, any persons who would want to ask a question, anybody, now is your time.
I have a question. Well, I have two. I don't know if both can be facilitated. But the first, well, I'm in third year, first of all. And the first question regards networking, because I understand the benefits of it in terms of if you are practicing and you don't have a certain level of expertise in an area, you can call on a colleague to give you advice or refer that case to them or the matter to them. But how do you go about the whole networking thing when it's not something that really comes naturally to you? Like you're in faculty and you might not have that many friends or that many people to call on, where it's like, okay, I can study with this person, or when I'm practicing, I can ask them for advice. And then the second one is, how do you go about remembering like all the stuff that you learned in faculty? Because people will tell me that when you begin to practice, it gets better, or when you go to normal man, it gets better because you're actually applying it. But I know for myself and a lot of third years, I don't remember the things that I did in first year, or I don't remember, like my mentee will ask me things and I'm just like, oh yeah, I actually did that course. So how do you actually like remember everything?
All right. And that
To
question
take
is
that
open to just
question.
about any. Go ahead, Miss Grant.
Okay, I want to address the last question first. Um, don't, all right, although we would have said many times over that you need your faculty, the substantive law that you learn at faculty, you need to apply it at Norman Manley. Um, you cannot remember everything if you have not done it over and over again. So, like more seasoned attorneys, they can tell you things right off the bat because they've done it over and over again, right? And even some people, some attorneys, they would have told me that they've done a matter like this, but they still have to go and look back. People have asked me about courses at the faculty, things that I did in first year, and I can't tell them right off the bat because everything won't be in my head all the time. So you have to refresh your memory. When a client comes to you, you have to prepare, right? If you get a call beforehand that is about this and you know you don't remember everything about it, you prepare, right? When you're going to court, you have to prepare. So when you have, for example, remedies, I think was a course that really drew on most of the substantive law that I learned at faculty, being tort, contract, employment, everything really came in remedies, right? And I remember the first day Miss asked, we had Dorcas White, and she asked us something in the tutorial, and she was like, "You learned this at faculty, right?" But we told her, like, "Miss, you don't remember everything." And but then she told us that you have to be prepared for class. And that is part of the preparation. You will have to draw on your faculty notes, your outlines, your material to kind of brush up on your Donahue and Stevenson, brush up on your negligence, brush up on your contract law, right? So don't be daunted fully if you don't remember everything all the time, right? You just have to be organized. Know that you can reach for this information, because even when you practice, you may have to actually find some information that you did for IP if you did it in third year, or some when you just start, you're gonna have to research, and then that information that you learned at faculty may actually give you a good start. So that just goes to show that you really don't have to remember everything all the time, right? You don't have to be a know-it-all all the time, and don't be daunted. Re-networking though, it is a bit harder in these times because we're kind of at home or not able to socialize as much as we want to. But I think it really starts at the faculty. You reach out to even people in a tutorial group, start there, reach out to people on the exec, go there, participate on committees. When you if you haven't done that at law school and you all would be in your final year now, so you have a year to do that at least. Start reaching out to people, even if it doesn't feel comfortable to do now, right? So participate, and you never know, you can have a situation like this, and you have attorneys here. Sean is here, um, Christopher Harper is here, Peta-Gay Facey is here. Reach out and talk to them afterwards. Miss, sir, I saw you at the forum. I want to follow up. That is how I met some attorneys at the faculty. We had them coming for different seminars, different events, different things, and I reached out afterwards, right? And build your bridges step by step, little by little, and it will pay off. So don't think that because you aren't extrovert that you can't network. You just put in that work little by little, literally. Little by little, you ask questions here, you offer something there, you make them get to know you. And one attorney, you can ask them to be a mentor or a quasi-mentor, an informal mentor from time to time. One attorney can introduce you to many more. So it's just starting. Don't think about it as this, oh, I don't know anybody right now, right? Think about, I need to know one person. Set out to go and do that, and it can help you from there. Just continue to build. Just start. Just start.
I made a quick point. Also, I want to jump in because if the person who asked the question is the person I think it is, then she was my mentee at faculty, and I want I want to contribute. As it relates to networking in particular, it doesn't have to be a case where you decide for yourself that hey, I'm going to go today and network. That's not how networking goes. Most of the time, it is passive. All right, so you get an internship and you do a good job, you form a relationship. That is networking. You don't have to decide, say, hey, I'm calling your number today because I want you to become part of my network. No go so. You understand? As it relates to networking at faculty, it's all about just forming friendships if you can, acquaintanceships where possible, because once you build a familiarity, once you build a rapport, then it's not a completely strange thing later on down the line for you to reach out to somebody who you have a familiarity with right now. Networking, the idea of it is to form relationships that you can leverage into opportunities later in the future. You don't approach people with with that sole objective in mind. You're not approaching people to use them. That's not. So I don't want you to think that networking is so difficult because it requires you to be all hey in your face and that's not how most of it is passive, as I said. But take the opportunities, as Samantha said, when you meet people on in forums like this, and reach out to them and express that you want to learn from them. I've had people be very receptive to that. I did an internship in St. Lucia under their attorney general just on that alone. So that's my point on the networking as it relates to learning law and remembering it. I think the key thing to remember as it relates to the LLB, the skills that they're teaching you, is not exactly to memorize everything in constant or crim or anything. The skills is what is important, is to be able to know where to go and find what you need to know about the legal situation, research, and to understand why it is the way it is and how to apply it. These are the things, because I don't remember anything in, let me see, CCHR. No, I remember equitable remedies, but I know where to go and find that information. People who don't have an LLB will not have that advantage. That's really the skill that you're gaining here. Don't worry about it if you're not remembering anything. You will remember in the future because you know where to go and find it. And
Thank you so much for adding in that, Mr. Charles. And the fact that you're here at this forum, that means you've taken the first necessary step to Charles, I never had to load her up. But yes, Miss Curry, the fact that you're here, it means that you've taken the necessary step, because this is a forum where you can network. As Mr. Charles said, it's not hard and fast, but it's just tacitly going about things, talking to persons, and leaving a good impression as well. So they'll remember me because I was a lovely host. So if I DM somebody and say, hi, Miss Grant, I met you at this, I want to know more about so and so, I mean, she won't be that shocked, I'm sure. But moving on. Any more questions? Because we are supposed to finish at 5, and it's now, according to my clock, 6 minutes to 5. Any more?
Hello, good afternoon. Hearing me clearly?
Go ahead, Mr. Morris. Yes.
Thank you so much. To the panelists, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. But I just want to ask you for a quick question. One point, one tip alone. We all know that law school and being at the faculty is very daunting. What is one tip that you would give to a student who is struggling, who some of us even working and going to school? One tip alone to give to that student to stay focused and try their best to, stay above board while everything is happening. I'll leave it there.
I think, sorry to be talking so much. One tip that I heard, I think it was last August when we were speaking to the incoming first years about taking on faculty. One thing that I heard my friend David say to them was no washing the face. And I think that is such an important piece of advice, especially as it relates to studying law. Take it at your own time, on your own time, at your own speed. Break it down for yourself, and don't watch nobody else. That is really it, because when you start watching other people, comparison is a thief of joy. I always say that is when you will start to be demotivated. That is when you will start to worry if you're meant to be here. Don't ever make other people things make you wonder if you need to be in the space. You're here, so you need to be here. You're here for a reason. That's what I'm another practical tip that helped me no washing the face is making outlines for my courses, especially on the topics that I knew I was going to do in the exam, especially for crim. So break down the topic into digestible bits for you. Don't watch nobody else outline. Make your own outline. You can use it as a guide. I use Samantha's one as a guide plenty of time. Thank you, Sam. But it is for you. Your outline is to help you remember the key points of the topic that you want to know. Because my outline will help me remember the things that I'm likely to forget, whereas the things that I have no chance of forgetting will not be on there, and it may help and it may not be of use to somebody else. So the outlines, I don't know if you've been taught to outline in LMRW yet, but take the time to develop that skill. And as I said, no watch in the face. This is your journey. honestly, I don't know how else to put it, but it's such a profound piece of advice as far as I'm concerned, because when you go on and you have the experience for yourself and you realize, how many times you had no reason to be doubting yourself. If you had just focus on your thing, it would have been no issue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles, and I would not add a that because I was a part of that year group, that first year, sitting in the lecture room, and I can just remember David with the theatrics saying, "Listen, now watch no face," and that definitely helped me throughout first year. And it's definitely helping me through my entire journey as a law student, because truly you will see people posting that they're studying, they're beating the books, and Miss Simpson will say that. Miss Simpson will say that she set her alarm for 6:30 while I am still struggling to get up for an 8 o'clock class. So each person will have their own struggles, but I promise you, as we've talked throughout this entire forum, it is possible. They have done it. Persons are still doing it. It is possible. You can do it. And I hope that in getting real today, we'd have not only just be, but to also be motivational and be inspirational about it, because we want you to stay the course as much as it's possible, and we want you to be happy with whatever decision you've made with your life. And so far, so now you are on the journey, so we want you to make the best of it. All right. Thank you to our legal education officer, Ms. Shannon Young, and to our the third year representative, I'm not in third year, to the third year representative, Mr. Kwaku Cummings. Thank you for putting on such a lovely event. Thank you to the panelists for coming out. Right now, Miss Shannon Young will do the vote of thanks. All right, Miss Young, over to you.
Say something. Sorry, I saw her.
Samantha wanted to say something. Go ahead, Miss Grant.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna add to what Jamaic said about your journey, right? Really and truly, just keep remembering that what if you're in first year, the next 3 years, second year, the next 2 years, third year, the next 1 year will pass, whether you are doing the work or not. The only thing that you can control is whether you do the work or not, right? And as they said, do the work at your own pace. If you're a morning studier, if you're a morning worker, do it. If you're an evening person, do it. And there's this thing about faculty and all-nighters. If it does not work for you, and that's something that has been at the faculty forever, from I can remember, if it is not for you, do not do it. If it is for you, use it. If it's not, not. But as Jamaica said, it all comes down to do not watch any face. Do what you have to do. If you know that you have more on your plate than somebody else and you have to get up for work the next morning, don't stay up all night because you know that all nighters are the in thing, right? Don't get back down and actually showing that you're studying than actually studying, because at the end of the day, it will show on paper who did the work and who did not do the work. And at the end of the time there, right, you don't want it to be where you have your colleagues passing you and then you're still there when you had done this big display of I did this, I did that. So just focus on you, your responsibilities, your knowing your environments, knowing all the factors that come that you have to deal with, and devising your path, getting your tailored advice. Because again, although this forum would have helped you, right, it is still a bit general and based on our experience, right? If you need to go and get further advice and and speak to somebody more personally about your personal experience and get it tailored to you, do that. So in everything you do, get advice and you decide what is best for you.
Thank you so much, Miss Grant. Miss Shannon Young with the vote of thanks.
Hi, thank you, Kiwi. Good evening, everybody. As I said before, my name is Shannon Young, your legal education officer, and this little forum was planned and put on by myself and our third year rep, Mr. Kwaku Cummings. It was just kind of birthed out of a mutual realization, sorry, that we wanted to do something like this real life kind of interaction for the students with the attorneys and the law students to really tell us, like, especially we chose younger attorneys deliberately because we wanted somebody who was really kind of, or persons who were still very much just stepping into the profession fully, and who could really tell us, how those transitions kind of go, and what it really is like. And we had the NMLS students of both levels for the same reason. Some of them are second years, so they know a lot more of what the exit is, or being close to the exit is, as well as the transition from being a first year NMLS student, as well as some of them are first year NMLS students who can tell us about that transition from law to Norman Manley. So we're really grateful that it has been a productive session. Thank you for all the students who joined us, some of them right after their class is finished. So we thank you for making that time for us. We also thank the attorneys. These are people who work and they make their time to come and be with us, to share with us in this kind of way and give us the real tea about what's going on for this profession, and really help us to understand what we're getting ourselves into. We thank you very, very much, everybody who joined us for this panel. We're very, very grateful. And we will continue to partner with you, and we hope that you will continue to partner with us to have sessions like these and to do even more things so that the students can really be ready for what they're stepping into. We thank you greatly. We thank you for everybody who joined us in our audience. We really, really hope it was beneficial for you. I certainly enjoyed it. I had a really good time, and I think everything that was said here, it was so great and so on point. Especially as a third year for me, I even learned a lot of stuff that I think I will definitely be aiming for and putting into place for myself. So thank you very, very much. We hope everyone involved has enjoyed this session, and we welcome you to come back around for some other stuff at other times. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Young, and I just want to say again, it was my pleasure. Near DM by any chance. I'm just seeking a mentor, and I promise to be a good mentee. Thank you all for coming. Mr. Harper, for taking your time out. Congratulations on being selected as a Maker Host Fellow. Thank you to Mr. Sean Discuss in his absence. Thank you, Ms. Peta-Gay Facey. And to the Norman Manley Law students, I want to say a big thank you. I know it's not easy, as was said today, get in, get out. So I hope in years to come, I can see you accomplishing your goals and being called to bar and all the fancy works of being an attorney, and also the real works, So thank you so much. Ms. Renee Simpson, Ms. Samantha Grant, Mr. Jamak Charles, Mr. Iqbal Chevaria, and Mr. Nathaniel Amore. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to my lovely audience. Join us next week for all the males on the call. Join us next week for our first ever Men in Law Forum. It will be at 2 p.m. so same time, Thursday. So please, please, please come out. It is International Men's Day, and a forum just for you as males, as upcoming attorneys, and as just to sit and talk. You won't see me because it's only male, but come out. Thank you. It was my pleasure being here. So any last words to anybody? You can speak now. I see the chats going. It was a great forum. So thank you all.